We are halfway through week 3 of the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old grandmother from Tucson, Arizona, who is the mother of one of America's beloved co-hosts in daytime television, Savannah Guthrie. We're getting little dribs and drabs of information, from, mostly, at least from my perspective, from Sheriff Nanos. But does it feel like we're any closer to finding Nancy Guthrie? Now, this isn't a criticism of the sheriff's office or the FBI. I think law enforcement is doing their best, but are we any closer? New details have come out in the investigation, and we're going to get into those next. Stick with me. This video contains mature themes and discussions intended only for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello there, my friend, and welcome back to another true crime conversation with me, Gavin Fish. So thankful that you would join me wherever you're joining me from, and wherever you're joining me from in the most creative way possible. Tell me in the comments. For example, I do see that Mooney is saying that she is from the state of lovers, which could be none other than Virginia. Ohio Palm Mom saying, here in an Ohio city known for abolitionist John Brown's tannery and the importation of Canadian black squirrels. Well, I don't know which city that is, but I am glad you are here. Wherever you're from, please tell me in the comments. I love that part. Guys, we are, as I said in the intro, we are halfway through week 3 in the search for Nancy Guthrie. Now, just as a quick recap of the case, Nancy Guthrie was last seen. I'm kind of sounding like an airline pilot tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for flying with us. I got to stop that. Sorry about that. Okay. Nancy Guthrie was last seen on Saturday, January 31st of this year of our Lord, 2026. She went to her family's house for games and for dinner and was brought back, and that was the last time that she was seen. She was supposed to attend church. I don't know if it was in person or if it was remotely. I've heard both ways, but either way, she was not at her church services, and the church called her family and said, "Hey, Nancy's not here. What gives? That's unlike her." The entire Guthrie family have shown, at least to me, throughout this entire ordeal, what a family of faith they are. And Nancy obviously was, because her church family missed her, called her her daughter, said, what's going on with Nancy? Maybe somebody should check on her. They go, they find a scene that looks like a crime scene. They call 911, the police come, and that begins the investigation. Since then, there have been numerous ransom demands with deadlines that have elapsed. There have been other, I think, possibly impersonators, maybe not, sending different emails and communications to different media outlets. The one that is the most obvious is TMZ, which I find weird. But still, no sign of Mrs. Guthrie anywhere. Now, this is a woman who has a pacemaker. She is reported to be on medication that is life-saving heart medication. As time passes, I hate to think about this, and I hate to say this aloud, but as time passes, the chances of her safe recovery dwindle. And now Savannah Guthrie has gone on social media several times saying, hey, we still have faith. We know she's out there. We want her back. pleading with her kidnappers to give her back. And let's just pause for a moment and think about what a wild case this is. We're talking about a kidnapping of an octogenarian Tucson woman for ransom. When does that happen? I mean, this is the plot of movies. It's sort of. It's usually children in movies, right? In fact, my favorite, can I even say this? My favorite movie? One of my favorite movies of all time. Gavin, what are you doing? Gavin, what are you doing? That's right, I'm on a tangent. One of my favorite movies of all time is Man on Fire, a wonderful, wonderful movie. But this normally would be in a movie. This wouldn't be happening in real life, and maybe that is what has captured us. And then all the drama around it, right? The sheriff doesn't like to play well with others, at least that's the reporting. The sheriff, I've seen an interview that Brian Enton did with a former undersheriff who said, this is a guy that never forgets. He holds grudges. Now, I don't know if that's true. Maybe Sheriff Nanos is doing his very best to move the investigation along, right? Maybe using that private lab like his department frequently does in the lab in Florida was their decision to make things go faster. Doesn't seem all that right to me, but I mean, this case, right? This case. Let's check in real quick with what y'all are saying. We've got Elizabeth McMaster Esquire. Hello from the birthplace of Mr. Peanut. Hint, it's Virginia. Thank you. Thank you for letting us know that. Happy Bermudaful Hump Day. Glad you are here. Edison, New Jersey. Right around the corner from where the light bulb was invented. That's pretty amazing. Anne Hathaway is watching from the shadow of Table Mountain. I'm not sure where Table Mountain is. I would guess it's a mesa. Are you coming to us from Arizona or perhaps New Mexico? I don't know. Gavin Oi from Safa tuning in from the first capital of Brazil and the birthplace of capoeira, the beautiful martial art. Inner Banks, North Carolina is here. Denver, Colorado is here. Webster, Mass. Reuter does not like this sheriff. Hello from mid-Michigan. Nanos was vibey, says Sharky Sharona with Brian Enton. Not going to lie, my inner mama bear got triggered. Got the Chicago suburbs in the house. The best little capital city in the world. Hey, you from Reno? You from Reno, Nevada? No, Reno's not the capital. Carson City is. I don't know. You tell me. Sharky is from a very heavenly place. Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, the city of Slurpees. Tuning in from Las Vegas or Henderson, the birthplace of the telephone, North Carolina, Tar Heels, Kansas. Thank you. The Bay Area in the E40 voice. And Butterfly Girl says, state that has #1 tomatoes. Tuning in from the collar city of the Empire State. I'm from the ever important Cowtown. Noise. Birthplace of the Coca-Cola bottle. You guys, awesome. Awesome. Thanks, guys, for checking in. And boy, am I glad that we have, that I can show your comments on the screen again. That makes me happy. Okie dokie. There are a couple of reports that I found really interesting that I want to bring to you guys. There's one from the New York Times. It's a long piece. We're going to do that at the end. But as I teased in the title of this live stream, new detail about suspect's target emerges. Let me start with some information out of NBC News. This is being brought to us from Liz Kreutz. Investigators hope the unique holster and possible ring could offer clue to suspect's identity. Now, listen, talking about the ring, I have to repent here. I have repented. I have seen the light and made the switch. There has been commentary about the ring underneath the gloved hand of our perpetrator. Let me see if I can bring that up, see if we can see it. Yeah, there we go. So see on, that looks like his pinky finger, there's like a little bump, a little highlight where the light has caught it. A lot of people have been talking online, including in the fish tank, which you're always welcome to join us in over on Facebook. Just search Gavin Fish or the Fish Tank. You'll find us. Or go to gavinfish.com, click the little fishy up in the upper right-hand corner. Lots of conversation about the ring theory. I personally was like, okay, so he's wearing a pinky ring. I have a friend, I have a couple of friends that are retired Pennsylvania state troopers. They are homicide investigators, and they have, I think combined, they have investigated something like 1,500 homicides and their solve rate is through the roof, including some cold cases. They're always telling me, don't get stuck on little details. Don't get stuck on those little things. Clock them, note them. Don't get stuck on them. And this is one of those things where I was like, I'm going to move on, right? But this headline, investigators hope unique holster and possible ring could offer a clue to the suspect's identity, has me repenting. Okay, Liz Kreutz writes, in video taken from Guthrie's porch the morning she went missing, a man could be seen wearing a gun holster, and it's a unique one, Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos said yesterday. Let's see if we can bring that up. He's carrying it right there in the front area, dangling in front of his own dangly bits, but it looks to me like it's a holster for like a 22, like a Luger that has a long barrel for a handgun, and it looks like the handgun that is in it does not fit. That's just me, though. Investigators are looking to gun stores to try to match the unique holster. Quote, we know he had a gun. We know he had a holster that had some pretty unique characteristics, Nano said in an interview. Quote, we can't quite identify it yet, but that's being worked on. So naturally, we go to our gun shops everywhere and say, have you seen this guy? Can you help us identify this weapon? Can you help us identify this holster? He said. Nanos also said that images of the suspect could show him wearing a ring. Quote, I look at the same photo you look at, and I see it, Nanos added. Quote, I'm going to give that to my team. They'll look at it, they'll analyze it, and we'll see. Maybe it is, he says, dwindling off. That part feels like reporting from yesterday that they're just adding into the article. But yeah, I mean, I can't see it in that picture. It's in this picture. Like it looks to be wearing a ring in his on his pinky finger. So we will see there. Now, continuing trying to identify pieces of information, NBC News reported, this was just earlier today, again, Liz Kreutz writing, identification of Walmart backpack could be critical, sheriff says. The Pima County Sheriff said yesterday that identifying the backpack worn by the suspect, which was sold at Walmart, could be a critical clue in the Guthrie investigation. Quote, that backpack we could positively now identify as a backpack that is sold at one place only, that's Walmart. Unfortunately for all of us, Walmart has like 16 billion locations scattered across the fruited plain right next to all the Dollar Generals, right? So who knows if it was a local Walmart or what, but I'm sure they are going through, I'm not sure of this. What are you saying, Gavin? I strongly suspect they're going through all of the purchasers of those backpacks. Hopefully, many of them have debit cards or credit cards attached to them. Quote, so we're working with our Walmart managers all across the state to try to find out how many sales there were of that backpack in the last 20, 30, the last 60 days, he said. And can we do something with that? Can we break it? Maybe we'll find a credit card or a bank card, he said. Maybe we'll find a video of the guy walking in. Nanos also encouraged, and this is important, guys, Nanos also encouraged members of the public to submit any information they may have and said no tip is too small. If you feel like it's an important tip, now let's not inundate. Let's see, the number for the FBI is 1-800-CALL-FBI. Let's not inundate them with crap, but let's let's think long and hard, right? Do we look at this guy and say, I think I might know that guy? And yeah, I know a guy who's 5'9", 5'10", in the Tucson area that is wackadoo cuckoo bird nuts and wears a pinky ring. You know, if you have that information, please do give it. Here's the video that has been released, and we're going to read here in a second. We might look out and get more video. In fact, while that is playing, this came in about an hour ago. Again, Liz Kreutz is writing it for NBC News. Sheriff says work underway to retrieve additional camera footage from Guthrie home. It's been more than a week, writes Liz Kreutz, since authorities released doorbell camera video from the morning Guthrie went missing from her home. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos said that Google is still working on retrieving additional footage from other Nest cameras at Guthrie's property. Didn't the sheriff say, I never said that there were more Nest cameras or that there were more cameras? Didn't he say that? But now he's saying they're trying to work on additional footage from other Nest cameras at Guthrie's property, but warned that doing so is a complicated process. He said that other private companies, including Meta and Apple, have offered help. I hope that they take them up on that. In fact, I tried to do a short today, but my video system, man, am I battling technology, which is hilarious because that is what my background is. I tried to do a short today talking about database architecture and understanding what that is, because there have been a lot of questions since I talked about, my training as a database architect. What a database architect is, I'll just tell you now, is somebody who designs how a database stores data, implements the storage of it and the retrieval of it. Somebody who takes into consideration the requirements of whoever needs the database, the client, the organization, the company, whatever, to create something that works well for them. Now, a database table is something that is very, very simple. It's a flat, basically, grid that stores records sequentially. I mean, I'm really simplifying this, right? But it stores records, and in rows, we can think of them as in rows, and then the data within those rows are in columns, like an Excel spreadsheet. The difference, of course, is that you have to be able to design these tables to interact with one another, to keep that data integrous, right? Now, a good database architect in something like, and they would be way better at it than me. I am so out of practice on this. The last time I worked as a DBA was, I don't know, 2000. It's been 25, 26 years since I did this full time, beyond just web and software development where I was working as a DBA. A good database will not only hold information and references to where files are, but when the files are deleted, it will inform people later on looking at that database what happens to those files. So, somebody, a high-level engineer or even a junior engineer from companies like Meta and Alphabet and Apple would be very, very good to employ. Sometimes working faster than forensics, digital forensic investigators. I think they would work quick. Just give them like Doritos, some Mountain Dew, and a keyboard, and they will go after it. So hopefully that is underway. Now let's bring up a photo of Nancy again, and let's just check in with you guys, see what you guys are saying over in the old live chat. Donna Peterson says, why do you think the sheriff will waste time doing individual interviews, but no one wants to do a press conference? It would be an opinion, I guess. I'm from the potato state. Well, welcome. Ooh, look what, that kind of cut that off. Hey guys, bear with me for a moment while I see if I can pull that up just a little bit. Let's see if we can bring that back. There we go. Okay. Well, the sheriff, this is my opinion only, okay? And you're asking me what I think. The sheriff is a elected official. Therefore, the incentive structure, the incentives that work on the sheriff are different than those that work on his investigators, his deputies, other law enforcement that are not elected, the feds, the FBI specifically in this case. The incentive structure is completely different. The sheriff is an elected official. That means that primarily, first and foremost, and I don't care what he says, what any sheriff says, who says, if they say, oh, I am a law enforcement officer first and foremost, bullcrap. They are not. They are a politician first and foremost, and a law enforcement official second at best. Okay? So why is he doing these individual interviews? Because he's a politician. That's my opinion. Now, at the same time, by doing these, he is keeping the case in the forefront of the 24-hour news cycle. And that is a good thing, in my opinion. He's doing a good thing by doing that. He's competing with the Olympics and with all sorts of other things that are happening in the world, the economic forums overseas, the political things of the day, the NATO summits, and the Supreme Court is going to start handing out decisions. There's tons of news that happens in that 24-hour cycle, and this case has been able to stay number one since February 1st. And I think part of that is because the sheriff is doing what he's doing. So I don't blame him for doing it. It does feel sometimes like, dude, just go do your job. But his job isn't to investigate. That's not his job. His job is to run the department. So I don't mind that he's doing it. Thanks for that comment, Donna. Angela says, I don't think it's a ring under the glove. I wear double gloves at work, cut proof, the nitrile over them, they crease and bulge up like that. So you think, it would be smart to wear a cut proof glove, double gloved, if you're in doing nefarious things. Let's find that image again. This one. Does it look like a ring? Or does it look like a bulge from an underglove? See, this is one of the reasons where I was like, I'm not even going to worry about this. Especially when there are things that are more pressing. Like, for example, that weird holster that is being worn strangely. The gun that doesn't appear to fit in that holster. The eyebrows, the mustache, the backpack, that sort of stuff. But yeah, great comment. Miss Chivos Dragon says, my new theory is that everything scary looking about this guy is intentional. Mask and brandishing weapon to intimidate, but he's not experienced with actual firearms. Perhaps. Yeah, perhaps. I would imagine that Arizona is an open carry state. Let me just do a little research on this. Is AZ an open carry state? Yes, Arizona is an open carry state for people who are 18 and over who can legally possess a firearm. And then allows for permitless concealed carry for those 21 and older. Whoa, what? Permitless concealed carry? Oh, so I was going to say, maybe he just likes to walk around with a firearm because it's Arizona and it is his constitutional right. I don't know. But it is a weird way to hold a gun, and that does show that maybe he's not experienced with it. Very good. Jennifer says, Gavin, wondering if the pinky ring may be something to throw off recognition if the perpetrator doesn't normally wear one. I can't imagine that somebody is that, like, I don't think that somebody who would go about doing what they're doing is that smart. Here is the thing. You guys know the iron law, right? I will repeat it. Gavin's iron law of criminal mastermindery is that if you think what you have what it takes to be a criminal mastermind, that is evidence in and of itself that you don't have what it takes to become a criminal mastermind. However, do you know how people become criminal masterminds? They experience crime, like they commit crimes at a higher and higher level over time, and they learn. And sometimes they get caught and they do 30, 60 days or in 5 years or whatever. But by the time they're in their 40s and 50s, man, they are good at it. I talked with my friend John and Sally out in England, who they have a podcast called True Crime Investigations UK. They're a husband and wife duo. Both of them, let's see, she is a retired lawyer, and she worked as a cop for before she became qualified as a lawyer, and then he did his entire career as a cop. And he told me stories about these career criminals that just would they'd get caught and they'd have to do a couple months in jail, and it was kind of like a game. Oh, I didn't get away with it this time, but what did I learn? Right? So do I think that they have what it takes to put a ring on their pinky finger to throw people off? Maybe. I don't know. I don't. I just don't. I don't think. I don't think that that's something that you would learn in your education going up. In the criminal underworld. But just my opinion, Jennifer. Just my opinion. Let's see. It just refreshed on me. Here we go. Redondo Beach. I'm starting to think this may be an inside job. If you have a person missing in your family, you'd be out front of the cameras every single day. So I disagree with your comment here, respectfully and lovingly, like we do here on this channel. I think that if somebody is out in front of the camera all the time, that's more of a sign of consciousness of guilt. Think of Drew Peterson, Scott Peterson, Chris Watts. Scott Peterson and Chris Watts for sure. And keep in mind that, two things. The sheriff has said that all of the family and all the people connected to Nancy Guthrie, including Nancy's children and their spouses, have been cleared. And then that's number one. And then number two, what was number two, Gavin? Give me a second. Number two is they have posted on social media multiple times. So that's just my take. Thank you. Jesse says, apparently they discovered a search for Nancy's address and her daughter's salary. If they can trace that, it could be big. That is something that I did read. Let me, Nancy Guthrie, search for address and Savannah's salary. So, I want to get to the source on this. Let me see if I can get to the source. It's AM radio. Okay, so I'm going to bring you over to my website. Thank you for bringing this up. This is published on 930 WFMD, but it says it's by U.S. News Today on Fox News. Internet users searched for Nancy Guthrie's address and daughter's salary before Today host's mother vanished. Let's see if there are sources to this. An internet user appears to have searched for Nancy Guthrie's home address in the weeks prior to her suspected abduction, Google Trends shows. She is the mother of Today's Show co-host Savannah Guthrie, who's been missing, blah, 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 last week, blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah. Okay. As the Pima County Sheriff's Department and FBI continue work on the case, Fox News Digital has learned that mysterious Google searches for Nancy's address and Savannah's salary occurred before her disappearance. Google Trends records show there was activity for Guthrie's address in the Catalina foothills between June 21st and 28th of 25, originating in Arizona. The address saw activity again on January 11th, 2026. The January 11th date also surfaced in a message on the Ring camera app posted on February 12th, asking neighbors to share video from between 9 p.m. and midnight that day, as well as the evening of January 31st when Guthrie was last accounted for. Okay, so that January 11th date is important. Pima County Sheriff's Department captain replied to the post asking users to look for verified posts from the department when submitting tips. Officially, investigators are seeking home security video recorded within 2 miles of Guthrie's home between January 1st and February 2nd. The Ring post did not come from the Pima County Sheriff's Office. It was posted by a neighbor. Okay, so it did not come. Sheriff's spokesperson told Fox News Digital PCSD sent out a request via the neighbor's app for video from January 1 to February 2. Okay, so, I mean, Fox News Digital is reporting that Google Trends is showing that there were searches for Nancy Guthrie's home address and for Savannah Guthrie's salary. Thank you very much for that comment, and I'm glad that we were able to verify that. Let me see if there's a new update. New update from NBC News is saying Tucson Crime Stoppers reward has grown by $100,000 thanks to a donation, bringing the total reward for information leading to an arrest to $102,500. Tucson Crime Stoppers, known locally as 88 Crime, announced the increased reward on social media earlier today. Let me see if I can bring that up for you. Yeah, here we are. Up to $100,000 being offered by private donors and up to $2,500 by 88 Crime Inc. for information leading to the arrest of the person or persons involved in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. So there it is. That is good news, and glad that NBC reported that for us. Okay, continuing your comments here. GF, gluten-free? Joke, I am a GF too. Appreciate your content always. Yeah, GF does stand for Gavin Fish. It does not stand for girlfriend. It does not stand for gluten-free, though it does on many menus that I read. And in our family, we have a child who has celiac disease, so we are a gluten-free home. In fact, one of our children today made a loaf of bread gluten-free that is the first in however many years that we have been gluten-free that for me tasted like leavened bread. It was delicious and yeah, very, very, very good. Unbelievable, says Gavin. What job haven't you worked? Guys, here's the thing about me, okay? I am a person who loses attention easily. This is what happened. I went to college and I hated college. I hated it. And after one term, I said, this is not for me. Now, I was in Argentina and disconnected from the world during the Windows 95 revolution. And when I came home to the great United States of America, and this, by the way, total tangent. Another fish tangent now. Woo! Yeah, okay, this is a total tangent, but this is what happened, okay? Well, I'll continue. After I failed desiring to continue my college education, and it's not that I did poorly. I did well as far as my grades in the one term that I took. I was looking for something to do with computers. And at the time, there were a bunch of Microsoft certified schools that were popping up across the fruited plain. The problem with them was that I didn't have the $40 or $50 or $60,000 that it would cost to do that. I couldn't get a student loan because none of them were accredited. And but I really wanted to learn the information. I wanted to become a systems engineer. I wanted to be a network engineer. I really wanted to learn how to be a web developer. And so I looked for work with a company that would teach me those skills. And I took a job with Packard Bell NEC at the time. It became NEC Computers after that. Uh, and what they did for me, it was a very entry level job. I made just barely over minimum wage as a customer service rep, but they let me attend Packard Bell University. And in Packard Bell University, I got to do all of those Microsoft certified classes and coursework. And, basically you do a bunch of classes until you finish a course and then you become a certified whatever, right? MCDBA, you're a database administrator, or you're a systems engineer, whatever. And my company paid for those things. And as I got more and more certifications, I can't remember what the total number was at the time. It was like 20 something. I think I got 6 major like course certifications, but it doesn't matter. I got all these things, and then I started moving up in the company until I worked in the they called it the E group, which was basically all the web developers, all of the database administrators, all of those folks. So that's what happened. Now, after that, I consulted with companies as an IT guy and a web developer until I got in. I basically was hired as a consultant, an IT consultant with a high-end audio company, which ultimately hired me um, as their web developer full time. And then I left for a little while to start a new company that terrifically failed. Came back and I worked my way up to a sales director position. That took me to other audio companies where I worked my way up into the C-suite. And then, like, COVID hit, and at that point, I had left full-time employment and was consulting for high-end audio companies. COVID hit, it closed down my business, and that's when I started to work as a reporter and as a YouTuber. There it is. That is so yeah, I've had a huge career arc. Huge. Pretty funny. Uh unbox with, but the architect of that database should easily be able to easily search for bits of information contained in the database. Yes, but the architect typically isn't there anymore. They've moved on to something else. And by the way, if I was part of the architecture team of the data backbone of whatever app or service that we were creating, I would work on that intensely for however long it took me to work on that, and then I'd be off to the next project and the next and the next and the next. So the best, yeah, if you can find that data architect, but if they did a very good job of building that database and indexing properly and doing all the things that are required in order to get data, to access the data out of the database, then a good DBA or several other engineers would be able to get in there and understand it real quick. Okay. Yes, I have not become a brain surgeon. I don't have any legal training, any medical training. Bewildered, says Sandala here in Newport, Rhode Island. But isn't the footage rewrote after certain periods of time? And because he took the front cam, it never did. If it was rewritten, if you know with an IT background, would you still be able to find it? Yeah, okay. So the way that data works, oh my goodness, it has been so long since I've done this. And honestly, when I was working in IT, we were still mostly talking about spinning disks. But my guess is in these giant data centers, their storage mediums probably still are, for the most part, spinning disks, magnetic disks, just because it's cheap and the access speeds are so fast. Like in our personal computers, we have solid state drives, right? But I think in data centers, I might be wrong on this, but at least backups, I would guess, just based on cost alone, would probably be spinning disk. But here's what happens. In a spinning disk environment anyway, data gets written from either the outside in or the inside out. and it's sequential. And as data gets deleted, it just gets marked as deleted. It doesn't get deleted until you fill up the disk, and then you come back and you find the parts that are marked as deleted and you start to overwrite them. Okay. But where this becomes very complicated is that in these large data centers, we are talking about, hundreds of copies of the same data for redundancy purposes. Hundreds of copies. So, for example, if you're just talking about, like a RAID system, right? A simple RAID system that a YouTuber might have, like somebody like I might have, is like a RAID 5 with 20 disks, and so there are 10 copies over those 20 disks. Let's see, in a RAID, I'm going to get this wrong. There are multiple copies over those 20 disks, and they're all writing at different times. So there could be bits of data in many different places that have that data still there, even though it is marked as deleted. And maybe it is overwritten on disks A through T, but not at disk, V through triple Z. That's where it becomes super complicated. And the requirement of engineers is there. That blue B word says, I'm here from that Pan state that always has thunder. Also, you can see the Cowboys sooner. Dun, dun. Are you by chance from Oklahoma? That was a good one. I liked that one a lot. Okay, a couple more. The Driftwood Lover, Gavin, if it's a ring, could he wear it? So I need to bring up Nancy again. Could he wear it so if he hits her with it, he causes damage and more pain? I think with an 84-year-old, I hate to think about these kinds of things. Would I wear a ring to cause more damage to somebody? I mean, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So I'm going to get hurt by that too. And she's 84. Do you need pain compliance with an 84-year-old woman? I don't think so. I don't think so. Philip Carter, but the FBI don't clear anybody until the case is solved. I'm just going by what the sheriff has said. And Cooler by the Lake, the sheriff has walked the family has been cleared statement back. Okay. Again, politician. Let me just go a couple more. Glambert is also gluten-free. Have a daughter with Crohn's, so I can relate. Bravo for the home baking. Yes, our daughter loves baking. Our non-celiac daughter loves baking. She does really good stuff. And I nailed it. Oklahoma. Very good. Okay, let's continue on. Tonight's going to be long, guys. I'm sorry. I normally try to wrap this up in about an hour, but we've got a couple more things that we want to get through. Okay, let's talk about genetic genealogy. This written by Adam Sabes or Sabes, I don't know. Nancy on Fox News. Nancy Guthrie DNA evidence from glove undergoes genetic genealogy testing. Dateline Tucson. Advanced DNA testing, which combines crime scene DNA analysis and information from commercial genealogy databases, could take weeks or months to process after the DNA found on the glove near Nancy Guthrie's home didn't produce a match in the FBI database, according to an expert. And we talked about this yesterday. During an interview with Fox News on Tuesday, Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos said the DNA recovered from Guthrie's home, as well as a glove found near the house, wasn't a match for any records found in the FBI database known as the Combined DNA Index System, or CODIS. So he's adding into that the DNA found inside the home didn't match CODIS as well. An FBI official told Fox News Digital that investigative genetic genealogy is underway in the Guthrie investigation. Retired Special Agent Jason Pack told Fox News Digital that investigative genetic genealogy is a technique used by FBI that combines DNA analysis from crime scenes with searching publicly available commercial genealogy databases, the old-fashioned genealogy research. Again, we talked about this yesterday. Said the investigative genetic genealogy could take several weeks to several months in a case like this, noting it's not a quick database check. And that is correct. It's not a one-to-one. The actual processing of the DNA does not take all that long, assuming that there's not a lab backup, right? But a couple of days, and they can have those reports. They can have those SNPs that they can upload to the database. But from there on out, it is old-fashioned genealogy research, and that takes real skill. You guys are going to laugh at this, but I am an amateur genealogist. It has to do with the culture of my upbringing, right? My religious practice, but genealogy is very important to people of my faith, and family history is very, very important. So it is something that I do on the regular. Um, it takes skill far beyond what I am able to do. But and yeah, it'd take a while. So once the DNA profile is built from the glove, a genealogist builds a family tree working outward from partial matches in consumer databases like GEDmatch or Family Tree DNA. You're essentially reconstructing someone's family history from distant cousins and working your way inward until you can identify a common ancestor and then narrow down a specific individual. The timeline depends on a few variables. So that is ongoing. That could take a long time. And I know, just based on the kind of people that we know are genetic genealogy researchers, they are they have a passion for this, and so I'm sure they're giving it their all. Okay, and then one more before we get to the long one. This from CBS News, written by 4 writers: Amanda Arden, Jonathan Vigliotti, Jordan Freeman, and Alex Sunby. Investigators have not ruled out that an accomplice aided the suspected kidnapper seen in the doorbell camera video outside the Tucson, Arizona home of Nancy Guthrie the night of her disappearance, according to Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos. Blah, blah, blah. Video recovered. There are additional cameras from the property that engineers are still working through as they try to recover usable video. Investigators are hopeful that tech companies working on the videos will uncover more, according to the sheriff's department. Authorities haven't named a suspect or person of interest in the case and did not provide further information about a possible accomplice. So I think it probably is. I think that it's probable that there's more than one person working on this crime. It just feels like one person isn't going to get away with this. There has to be an accomplice, but that's just me. Okay. This from the New York Times, and the reason that I want to talk specifically about this is because it's talking about us. It's talking about people like us. Now, the way that I have been expressing this ever since the Nick Reiner case, but I have been living this, and we all have been living this on this channel for the entire time that I have been a channel, is we want to temper our speculation with compassion and with humanity. That was something that the Reiner family asked of the public, and I took it to heart. And I love we temper our speculation with compassion and with humanity. We don't want to be the kind of people that rub salt in an open wound. This is important to us. We want to learn new things. It is, I mean, we're going to be honest, it is rather entertaining and fascinating to watch the law enforcement process play out. Not only law enforcement process, but also the prosecutorial process later on. But I thought that I would share this with you guys just as a reminder so that we can not be guilty of rubbing salt in the wounds of the family members of victims, okay? The headline here is rampant speculation in the Guthrie case is like, quote, salt on the open wound. The police seem stumped. Nancy Guthrie had been kidnapped in the night, and investigators had no idea who was responsible. But a legion of amateur sleuths and true crime obsessives had already made up their minds. It was a family member seeking inheritance money, one YouTube commenter guessed. Something seemed off about the older daughter, another said on Reddit. On X, one woman wrote confidently that she had seen enough true crime shows to know that it was the older daughter and son-in-law who were guilty. After all, the onlookers reasoned, that's the way these things usually play out. Fevered and unfounded speculation caromed around social media, live streams, and message boards, and by Monday, Sheriff Chris Nanos of Pima County, Arizona was fed up. 3 weeks in, he said, armchair detectives were still flinging allegations that were not only incorrect but also cruel. The sheriff issued an exasperated statement publicly ruling out Ms. Guthrie's children and their spouses as suspects, a move he had resisted because he wanted to avoid officially eliminating anyone until the culprit was in custody. By the way, this was published today in the New York Times. Quote, I just got tired of it, Sheriff Nanos said in an interview on yesterday. Quote, I need to step in when my victims are being re-victimized by some knuckleheads out there. He doesn't really, but he feels that he does, and so he did. The desperate, and you know what? And I don't blame him. But remember our previous conversation about he is a politician, okay? He can just let it roll off his back and continue his investigation the way other professionals do, but he is a politician, not a law enforcement officer first and foremost. The disappearance of Ms. Guthrie, 84, the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie, has captured the nation's attention and its lurid imagination. An online ecosystem devoted to making entertainment of high-profile murders and mysteries has turbocharged interest in the case. Ms. Guthrie's case is one of many in recent years to set off such a fervor, as true crime stories have become big business in a world where engagement is easily monetized. And that is not untrue. That is true. Exhibit A, Your Honor, Gavin Fish's YouTube channel. This is a monetized channel. I do this as part of my job in order to earn money for my family, because I know that it is something that is desired, that there's a demand for, and something that I can provide. What I work really hard to do, though, is to not be super speculative and to keep the victims in my mind and in my heart. And there are so many other channels that do this very well too. So many. But I think that we might be in the minority. And the ones that do are the ones that you guys all tend to watch, right? Like at least watchers of my channel tend to watch. That's Gisela K over at Grizzly True Crime. That is Joel Waldman over at Surviving the Survivor. That is Josh Ritter over at Courtroom Confidential. And then for the storytelling channels, that's Sherilyn Dale. That's there's so many. But it's not untrue what they're saying here. Engagement like this is monetizable. You can make a living off of this. And for big media companies, you can make so much money off of this. Continuing the article. But the frenzied atmosphere often gives way to reckless and inaccurate accusations. The 2022 killings of 4 University of Idaho students, for instance, left a trail of those wrongly blamed. Crime has long enthralled, but the internet has enabled the public to participate in investigations vicariously. Now, true crime fanatics do not need to wait for a case to be cracked for a podcast to drop. They can try to solve it themselves. And by the way, this isn't a bad thing, right? This is not a bad thing at all. A great comment here from Daddy Crab. The mainstream media is monetized. Yeah, 100%. And thank you very much for that super chat. I deeply appreciate it. You know, I don't ask for super chats and super stickers all the time. But boy, does it help. And I am really grateful. Thanks, Daddy Crab. And that is a very good point. The mainstream media is monetized too. Okay, good. Thank you for that. Okay. Oh, by the way, this isn't a bad thing, right? True crime fanatics do not need to wait for a case to be cracked for a podcast to drop. They can try to solve it themselves. Guys, if it weren't for the work of so-called true crime fanatics, Gabby Petito's body might still be laying in that creek bed. Ellen Greenberg's case may still be just chalked up as another self unaliving. There are lots of cases where there was real meaningful participation. And so, yeah, this is not a bad thing, but all good things taken to the extreme can be bad, right? Content creators and their followers have flocked to Ms. Guthrie Street in the foothills of Tucson, joining the throng of television and newspaper reporters standing sentinel. This drives me nuts, okay? That sentence, I just want to slap the author for it. Because the so-called, like, what would we say? How would I describe this? Let me look for the proper word. Self-ordained media, like they have a higher calling, and it is only them that should be standing sentinel, is bullcrap. Long before giant established media companies, the media was a citizen-driven thing, and I think it still should be. Standing sentinel. Those reporters are just as bad as the people that they're complaining about in this article. But the point is not lost on me that there are unscrupulous YouTubers and podcasters that are doing nothing to help out on the street, Nancy Guthrie Street. In fact, I saw one today that was live streaming from the street. Absolutely nothing, just a live camera. And there were 31,000 people watching it. I can't tell you how much money that guy was making. Guys, that guy was making so much money. I bet that live stream, let me just do some calculations real quick. Let's see. I bet that guy made $50,000 today, standing on the street in front of Nancy Guthrie's house, just with a camera pointed at nothing happening. What am I doing? No, I'm not going to do that, but yeah. The spotlight of the case has led to tens of thousands of tips, the authorities have said. Good. But the accompanying conjecture, and those tips wouldn't have come in without this spotlight. But the accompanying conjecture has complicated an already difficult investigation and has stung Miss Guthrie's grieving family. I'm sure that's true as well. The assertion that Miss Guthrie's son-in-law was or could be the prime suspect as the news anchor, remember, not a member of the new media, not a YouTuber, not a podcaster, but a news anchor, and parenthetically, podcast host Ashley Banfield put it, risked endangering law enforcement officials' delicate relationship with the Guthrie family, a key source of information, Sheriff Nanos said. Ms. Banfield has defended her report and maintained that the son-in-law was the focus of investigators at the time. She was probably right. Such speculation has also inspired a flood of baseless tips, the sheriff added, which has distracted officers from more credible clues. However, the catch-22, of course, is he wouldn't have had the credible clues without all the baseless tips. Quote, "You're taking away valuable resources for wild goose chases," Sheriff Nanos said. Well, lucky for Sheriff Nanos, the nation's law enforcement division is helping too. Technology has made it easier to follow investigations in real time, but the public typically lacks the training and access to crucial facts that the authorities rely on to form their conclusions, said John Iannarelli, a former assistant special agent in charge of the FBI's Phoenix division. And that's certainly true. A case is almost never as simple as it might appear to curious civilians who have become accustomed to mysteries tidily wrapped up in police procedurals and documentaries, he said. Also probably true. It's very easy to sit back from the outside and say, hey, this person should be the suspect, Mr. Iannarelli said. We have a CSI generation where we expect everything to be solved in an hour, but the reality is it takes time. For some, following investigators' every move has proved profitable. Yeah, look at that picture. Actually, I can see Brian Enton standing right there. You can't miss him. That silvery mane is Josh Ritter out there? I can't tell. Anyway, live streamers have seen record views and have raked in followers. The gossip outlet TMZ, which received a ransom note from someone purporting to be Ms. Guthrie's kidnapper shortly after her disappearance, has covered the case seemingly nonstop, and the gambling site Polymarket has recorded $145,000 in bets about when the abductor would be arrested. That's just sick. I have not raked in record views, by the way. My record views were raked in on Madeline Soto and Gabby Petito. Quote, people are grifting off this terrible and sad situation, said Alma Hernandez, an Arizona state representative. I would venture to say Alma pronounces his name or her name Hernandez, which would be awesome because that's the way it's pronounced. Anyway, an Arizona state representative whose district includes part of Tucson and who has followed the search closely. She has watched misinformation flourish and has seen content creators implicate innocent bystanders and tail police vehicles. Yeah, and the news media is doing that too. It compromises everyone's safety and compromises the investigation itself, Ms. Hernandez said. It's not helpful. Honestly, it's just creepy. Guys, part of what is being said here, tiene razón, as they would say in Spanish, right? It's valid. However, also, without it, I don't think this case will be solved without help from the public. I just don't. Just finish this up. We're going to end up reading this whole thing. The sensationalizing of someone's darkest days also has a lasting impact on those around them, said Danielle C. Slackoff, criminal justice professor at California State University, Sacramento, Sac State, my hometown, who has studied how media portrayals of true crime affect family and friends of the victim. Quote, it can leave their family feeling like their loved one didn't matter, that it's the graphic details people care about, not the real person at the center of the story, Ms. Slackoff said. They didn't ask for this to happen. This isn't some mystery or game to them. This is their real life. And I agree with that. And that is why we work really hard to temper our speculation with humanity and with compassion. It isn't for us the graphic details that we care about. It is the victim that we care about here. Those closest to Ms. Guthrie have felt this acutely. Her children have not spoken publicly beyond social media videos pleading for help finding their mother, but Ms. Guthrie's friends have said the online accusations have been painful to read. I'm sure they have. Chris Federer, who has known Ms. Guthrie for nearly 2 decades, said she was relieved when the sheriff's department absolved the family. Thank God, she said, not because she had worried they were culpable, but because she hoped it would end the harassment Ms. Guthrie's children and their spouses have endured. Let me pause for a moment on this one and just address this. Never, on this channel, guys, we are better than this. We do not harass people. We do not lob accusations at them. Even people that we hold, like 2 of the people that I just really, really have a hard time even finding an ounce of love within myself are Chris and Roberta Laundrie. I have a real hard time with their behavior during the time that Gabby Petito was missing. I understand it on an intellectual level, but on a human level, dang it, guys. I have a real hard time with those people. But I was still pissed that there were people harassing them, screaming at them, yelling obscenities at them, because none of that helps, and it devolves into like a Lord of the Flies kind of a situation, and we are better than that. So please, if you ever are tempted to do something like that, please, 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 just remember Uncle Gavin. Uncle Gavin's plea to you. Oh, what are we gonna do here, guys? Here we go. Here we have an Uncle Gavin moment. Where here we go.
Listen up, kids. Uncle Gavin has some wisdom for you.
Okay, kids, it's Uncle Gavin here. It is stupid to go about harassing people, tailing people, causing them to feel unsafe, shouting obscenities, or demonstrating certain salutes with one's hands. It is not, one, it doesn't help the situation at all. And two, that's just what idiots do. Okay? Don't be an idiot. Don't be a dill hole. Such a dill hole. Yeah. Don't be a dill hole. Just be human. Be compassionate. Be a good person, and your life will be happier. Okay, this has been brought to you by Uncle Gavin. Let's continue with the article. Let's see. It hurts the family, Ms. Federer said. As if all this isn't bad enough, why are we putting salt on an open wound? She said she has been alarmed by the rampant theorizing from people with no connection to the case who know nothing about the family. Okay. Nancy is a grandma. She's a friend to many, and this isn't helping things, Ms. Federer said. Ms. Guthrie's relatives and friends, she added, are real people with hearts and souls and are living through a fricking nightmare. A frickin' nightmare. Another friend, Vicki Edwards, said the speculation has been agonizing. The unfounded commentary from true crime personalities and social media influencers only adds to that burden, Ms. Edwards said in a text message. Of course, the irony here is that the Times had to reach out to them and bother them too in order to get these quotes. Quote, the noise continues to distract from what really matters, supporting one another and keeping the focus on Nancy's safe return. So with that, I just want to say kudos to you and hopefully to me for really working hard to just be interested and compassionate, and for those of us who are prayerful that Nancy will return. And that is the end of my diatribe. Let me hop in to what your comments are saying. Thank you very much, Pauline Knuckles, for the super chat. Awesome. Deeply appreciate that. Prime numbers, any news on the Google searches prior to the kidnapping? I did cover that a little bit thanks to a comment on the live stream. Nothing else that I can find. Broke Stacker, why would you put a bullseye on Nancy Guthrie's face for your thumbnail? You're better than that. I did that as a visual representation that she was targeted. That's why I did that. And maybe I am better than that. Unbox Life with Lori. I agree, Gavin. It's keeping people engaged. It really is. Philip Carter says, yes, I know. I'm just educating the rest of the folks on that here. Okay. Emmy says that she agrees. Thank you very much. And Katie, please take the bullseye graphic off Nancy Guthrie. Insensitive. Maybe it is. I'll think about it. Thank you very much for that. And you know, I appreciate you guys calling me out on stuff. I do. I really do. Okay. What time is it? Man, it's a long one tonight. Let's move on to 3 questions. Here we go.
3 questions with Gavin Fish.
Pow. Okay. In this segment, guys, I answer 3 questions that are sent in to me by you to the email address 3questions@gavinfish.com. It's spelled out 3questions@gavinfish.com. I solemnly promise that I will answer all the questions that come in, not in the order in which they appear, but in the order that interests me the most. I've got like a little table that I'm going through and marking as answered when I answer them. But you can send in 1 question. You can send in 100 questions. I think I'm down to about maybe 10 questions left on my list. So if you have any questions that you want me to answer, could be about me personally, could be about a case, could be about a lot of different things, please go ahead and send that in to 3questions@gavinfish.com. Okay, first question of the night came in from Zoe. And why is it doing that? Let's drag this way so it fits in there. That looks better. Okay, how long do you think it would take for them to find who took Nancy? Do you think it will take more weeks, a few months, or a few years? Well, I don't know what the statistics are on this, Zoe. I would love your opinion in the live chat and in the comments. Especially those of you over on Spotify. Thank you for listening on Spotify. If you are a Spotify user, please consider following me there. There's a link down in the description below. It definitely helps the channel to have followers. It gets me out in front of more people, and that really helps me, and I appreciate it. How long? I don't have the statistics on this, but I think the more time passes, the lower the likelihood is that she's going to be found. I don't want that to be the case. I want her to be found soon and safe. But so what do I think? Weeks, months, years? Yes. I just don't know. I just don't know. And our job is, I think the more eyeballs stay on this, the longer it stays in the zeitgeist, the greater the likelihood that we will get a break in this case. So we're doing our best to do that. But I hope it's ours, man. I hope it's soon. But I think statistically, we're going to have a hard time finding her ever. It's so sad. But let's keep hope. Let's keep hope alive. Question number 2, and tell me your opinion in the chat. Have you ever been told you have a doppelganger? This came in from Amy, and Amy sent in a photo of this supposed doppelganger. Now, I will say this doppelganger was a slightly overweight fellow with long hair and a beard, but it didn't look like a doppelganger to me. Plus, my mom always told me that I'm the handsomest boy in the world, so how could there be a doppelganger? And when I asked my wife, I asked her this very day, hey, was my mom lying to me? My wife said, no, you are the handsomest boy. So I don't think that I have a doppelganger. And Amy, the one that you sent in, I don't even think is even close. But so no, I've never been told that. And I still don't believe it. Now, if you find a doppelganger, and I'm not just talking to Amy, anybody here, I would love to see it. Send it in. See if there is one out there. Thanks for the question, Amy. Last question. What are your thoughts about the unaliving of Kurt Cobain in April 1994? I remember that very well. Yeah, I actually remember that very well. And I know that there is a lot of talk. Now there's speculation, and we just had a long conversation about speculation. I don't buy into the speculation that he was murdered. I think that it was a sad situation with mental illness or mental health, with a mental health crisis, that he had everything to live for, and I, in my opinion, chose not to. And I'm saying that, understanding how hard those feelings are to shake, how hard they are to break. And if anybody's having those feelings right now, I'm telling you, there's no shame in getting help. Please get help. But that's what I think, Tricia. And those are my thoughts. Now, tell me what your answers are to the 3 questions of the night in the live chat and in the comments. And while you are doing that, let's go ahead and talk about some headlines. Here we go.
True crime headlines.
Okie dokie. Looks like David, who is implicated in the death, let's say, I think murder, but death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. I have a picture of her here somewhere. Let's bring up Celeste. There she is. At least this headline from IB Times UK says, David's case update. Grand jury twist requires rapper's family to cooperate in Celeste Rivas's Tesla death probe. A Texas appeals court ruling has intensified the investigation into the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, requiring members of the singer David's family to comply with grand jury subpoenas in California. The parents and brother of the artist known as David have been contesting LA County's grand jury subpoenas, with court records in Texas showing that they argued that their due process rights were being violated. The legal dispute centers spelled in the British way, of course, that they testified before a California grand jury examining the death. On Monday, February 16th, the First District Court of Appeals in Texas denied 3 habeas corpus petitions seeking to overturn a lower court order, so they must comply with those subpoenas. So we'll keep our eye on that. This from a couple of days ago, 4 days ago, on Valentine's Day, so Saturday, but I missed it somehow. Coming out of ABC 7 Chicago, Cook County prosecutors add concealment of homicidal death, false reporting charges against Adam Backerink and in the death of his wife. This is Caitlin Tracy. If you will remember this case, we have covered this guy. Piece of work, man. Dateline Chicago. Telling new charges have been added to the case against Chicago tax attorney accused of murdering his wife. Adam Backerink, 47, is accused of killing 36-year-old Caitlin Tracy in October of 2024 by throwing her down a 29-story stairwell in the couple's high-rise condo building in the South Loop. The I-Team analyzed the court filings that show a clearer picture of where the prosecution may be heading, including plans to seek a natural life sentence. Oh my goodness, that was an excellent sneeze. Sorry about that. Along with 6 murder charges, Cook County prosecutors have added multiple concealment of a homicidal death and false reporting charges against Backerink, who has been denied bond since his extradition to Illinois following a DV sentence in Berrien County, Michigan. So that is what's happening in the Caitlin Tracy case. And then this one from a couple days ago from the Columbus Dispatch. This is from their editorial board. I think this is a terrific article. I don't think we'll read the whole thing, but a couple paragraphs. This is important. Headline says, Tepe deaths show deadly cost of ignoring DV. The tragic deaths of Monique and Spencer Tepe highlight the dangers of DV and why preventing it and protecting and supporting survivors must be a community priority. Anything less is unacceptable. If court records and statements from friends and family members are true, Michael McKee, an Illinois vascular surgeon, threatened, harassed, and stalked Monique Tepe, his ex-wife, after their divorce was finalized in June 2017. And kudos to the editorial board for that caveat. That was just very well written. They're protecting themselves against lawsuit there. Rachel Lustig, president and CEO of Lutheran Social Services of Central Ohio, which includes LSS Choices for DV, said such disturbing behavior is far from unheard of. Quote, the biggest danger occurs immediately after the separation, but there's no magical time at which it ends and no magical amount of time in which healing occurs, she told us. Choices provides counseling, shelter, crisis intervention, education, and community and legal advocacy to Central Ohio residents facing DV. Let me just this is stuff that we covered about the case. Okay, when to seek help. Lustig said there are a variety of reasons why a victim may not reach out for help, including fear that doing so might make things worse or that the abuse isn't that bad. She encourages those being victimized to seek help from DV hotlines and/or police. The hotline workers are trained to help you understand what is happening and plan for your own safety, Lustig said. You do not have to have an urgent, immediate situation to call and get advice. That is important. Something that I don't think we talk about. It doesn't have to be in the moment of an assault, for example. It can be in a calm moment, in a safe moment, you can call and get advice. Some people, she noted, may not realize that help exists or that what they're experiencing is DV. A little more of half of respondents to a joint survey conducted by the Columbus City Attorney's Office, the Center for Family Safety and Healing at Nationwide Children's Hospital, and the Battered Women's Project said they knew what community agencies to call for help in DV situations, just a little more than half. More than 60% of respondents felt that DV was a big problem in Franklin County. So let's see how they conclude this. Lustig says she knows the impact DV can have on children, and her heart goes out to the Tepe children and all others who loved Monique and Spencer Tepe, a 37-year-old dentist and 39-year-old stay-at-home mom with a master's in early childhood education. Quote, I hope that we as a community can do what's right by this family by doing everything we can to combat DV in our community. she said. Domestic or DV is not a personal issue, it's a community issue. And boy, is she right. And once again, my kudos to the editorial board of the Columbus Dispatch for publishing that. And those guys are your headlines.
True crime headlines.
Okay, one last peekaroonie at the comments here. Let me make sure that I get everything. Emmy asks, can you please link the article? I don't know that I saved the links to the articles. This is something that I should do. I should put that as I'm preparing a show. I should put all the articles, links to all the articles in the description. I will try to do that from now on, Emmy. Sorry about that. Let me just keep on scrolling, make sure I've got everything. Yeah, good idea, says Tiff Knox. Okay, with that, guys, I know that we've gone on a little long tonight. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. We will keep our eye on this case. We got to keep attention on the case so that more valid tips come in. If you're watching this and you know something about this, please call Crime Stoppers. Please call the FBI, 1-800-CALL-FBI or 88-CRIME, I think is what it is. 88, let me get that so that you have it. Yeah, 88-CRIME in Tucson. 882-7463. You can be anonymous. Let me bring that up so you can see it. This is the reward up to $102,500. You can call locally 882-7463, or you can call the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI. Remember that you can always find me on my website, gavinfish.com. And you can reach out to me there. You also, if you click on this little fishy up here, that will take you to the fish tank where we hang out on Facebook. It looks like this. If you search the fish tank or fans of Gavin Fish, you'll find it. Looks like we got about 6,100 members there, and we talk about all things true crime. And you guys are always, always invited. With that, I shall bid you adieu. Thank you very much for spending your evening with me, and I hope you'll do it again tomorrow night at this same time, same location. And until then, I bid you adieu. Take care of yourselves. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.